So you just bought your copy of SanGuoSha, but you open it up and you realize the booklet's all in Chinese. So to learn how to play the game, we're going to help you out here. So this is how to play SanGuoSha. Now just keep in mind, everyone plays the game a little bit differently. So this will be kind of my approach of playing the game after playing with a bunch of different groups, Chinese and non-Chinese players included. So let's get into it. So there are effectively 3 teams that are comprised of 4 different cards in this game. The king and his loyalists are trying to uphold the dynasty and keep the king alive. The rebels, which are, that's a lot. So these are all loyalist, king. Now the rebels are the ones trying to kill the king. The last one is the spy, which is the blue card, which is trying to be the last one standing in the game. That is, he must be in a state where it's him and the king alive, 1v1, and he has to kill the king individually. Now let's get on to the character cards. So these character cards right here it's a massive stack. So each of these character cards are what your character basically is in the game. Now they're all very different from one another, but there are different categories. So what we have here are the red group, which is one of the kingdoms. This is a blue group, which is another kingdom. And then this is the green group, which is another kingdom. This last group right here is kind of a hero faction, and those are ones that don't necessarily have an allegiance to these factions, but their abilities are just as strong. So this is how you read a card. This is the art, very nice, but here you have the health. So the health of each character will range from 3 to 4, which is denoted by these health marker cards, very useful. And then you have the ability on the bottom. So usually there's at least 1 or 2 abilities per character, and that will basically allow you to cheat the game in some way. Now let's get on to how the game begins. So at the beginning of the game, everyone's going to be dealt a role card. So say we play a 6-player game. So there's going to be 1 king, 1 loyalist, 3 rebels, and 1 spy. Now we're going to shuffle this up. Deal 1 out to each player. When I get my card, let's say this is my card, I'm going to look at it. So I just got dealt a rebel. Now, if there's any card except for the king, you're going to keep it secret. So this is my card, keep it secret, and whoever is the king, let's say I'm just going to cheat and look at all these. So the person sitting here is the king. He's going to flip over his card and say, I'm the king. Now, when he says he's the king, we're going to look through this character deck and find the 3 main king cards and deal him that to choose from. So historically, in the universe, these are the 3 leaders of each of the kingdoms. So he's going to get these 3, blue, red, green. And then what we're also going to do as kind of a home rule to spice things up, we're going to shuffle this and give him another card to choose from. Because I like to do this to spice up the game. Usually this card doesn't end up getting chosen, but it's nice to have an option. So the person that's sitting over here is going to look at these cards and pick one of them. Say he just picks Cao Cao, or as we said in the previous game, Cao Cao, because we're going by the English names. So he picks Cao Cao. Then the rest of these cards are going to get shuffled back into this deck. Now that that's done, everyone knows who the king is and what card he picked. Now everyone's going to get dealt 3 of these character cards face down. I have these 3 cards, look at them secretly, and I want to pick not blue because he is a blue card, because that might conflict a bit. So let's just say I pick this guy. So I pick this guy, and after I read his ability, actually his 2 abilities right here, then I am going to take a health card, 3 health, just like there. Then what I like to do is take my loyalty card, put it under this so no one can see, and then set up my health like this. So I start out with 3 health. Every time I lose health, just kind of reduce this bit by bit till I die. Then that would be when I flip this over. Right now, this is face down. Now everyone else is going to also pick their characters. So let's say he picked his character, he picked his, he picked his, he picked his, and everyone's going to get dealt 6 cards. Once you get dealt your 6 cards, then the game starts with the king going first, and he's going to draw 2 cards to start his turn.
So let's go over how to use these cards. So here are your 3 most basic cards. You got your attack, you got your peach, and you got your block. Attack, you can only play this once per turn, and it's your primary form of dealing damage to people. when you plan attack on someone, they normally take 1 damage. But if they happen to have a block in their hand, they can be like, hey, screw you. They play in front of them, and you're like, oh no, my attack is wasted. They both go discard pile. Nothing happens after that point. Peach, you can play it on yourself to heal 1 point of damage, or if you're about to die, you can be really sneaky and be like, ah ha ha, I'm gonna save myself from the brink of death. I'm still alive, screw you. All right, let's go over through these tools. So, tools are basically like weird little utility cards. They do cool things that aren't just those basics. As an example here, these bad boys with the tigers on their face. This is a negate card. Basically, it negates other tool cards. So if someone were to play, for example, this one here, which is Barbarians, which does 1 damage to everyone on the table except for yourself, you can just be like, hey, no, screw you, I'm gonna negate it. Also more in depth about the Barbarians. When you play this card, so normally everyone else will take 1 damage, but you can choose, as someone who's taking a damage, to play an attack card, and then bam, no damage. This is Arrow Shower, similar to Barbarian, but they play a block to not take the damage. All right, next tool. We got Jail, we got Stun, we got, I don't know what this is called, but the point is you put it on someone else and they can't take their turn. But oh wait, that's a lie. When it gets to their turn, here they get a chance to take their turn. So they're gonna flip over the top card of the deck. This doesn't go to their hand or anything, it just gets flipped over and goes to discard power afterwards. And if that card is a heart, then the stun card does nothing. But if it isn't, they go like, oh no, and their turn is skipped, they draw 2 cards, that's it, turns over. Feels bad. So for this tool card, this is a steal card. So what this does is that you pick someone within your attacking range, which by the way, I should explain this right now. So when you attack someone, you can only attack someone within your attacking range, which normally is just people that are adjacent to you. But that value can be modified with the use of other tool cards, such as these horses with things that modify your range, and weapons, which just usually just add straight up range. But anyways, back to the steal card. So when you pick that player, you can take 1 card from their hand and add it to your hand randomly, or you can take 1 card that's on their player board, ergo stuff that's like a weapon or a horse, and put it in your hand. Next up, we got Lightning. So Lightning is kind of a hilarious card. So this, you play it on yourself at first, and then once the round passes back to you, you did the same thing that you did with the stun card, and you flip over the top card of the deck. Now, if this card is a 2 to 9 of spades, what ends up happening is that you, the person with Lightning, takes 3 damage. Now, I might be going like, why would I ever want to do that? That sounds really dumb. And here's why. If it isn't a 2 to 9 of spades, then that card just goes to discard pile, whatever. But then the Lightning passes along to the next player. You keep on doing this with that Lightning until someone deletes it or until it blows up in someone's face and they take 3 damage. Very hilarious card. Next up, we got Dismantle, Delete, whatever you want to call this. The point is that instead of stealing stuff, you just pick someone and they delete something. And what that means is you either discard 1 card from their hand randomly, or you take one of their cards that is in front of their player board and you just throw it away into the discard pile. Next up, we have Pot of Greed. Now, this card lets you draw 2 cards from the deck and add them into your hand. Just like in Yu-Gi-Oh!, this card is absolutely busted. Like, if you draw this, you just have more cards than everyone else. It's dumb. Really cool card. Great game design. Next up, we got Harvest. Ash, what do you call this card over here? Harvest. Okay, so we got Harvest here. This card basically, what it lets you do is you flip over cards from the top of the deck equal to the amount of players you have. So if you have 4 players, flip over 4 cards. And then starting from you, everyone adds 1 card from those flipped up cards into their hand. This here is Duress. Yeah, I think it's called Duress. Whatever. The point of this is that this card, you pick 1 other dude to attack someone else. So basically what that means is if that person has an attack card, they can now play at that time to attack the other person you just picked. But if they don't have an attack card or if they just don't want to do that, you instead just steal a weapon they have equipped. Next we have Duel. It's time to... I don't know how to do Duel that fast before. So this is literally a duel card. You pick someone else and challenge them to a duel, where what's at stake is the loser takes 1 damage. So here's how this duel works. So first priority passes to the person you selected for the duel. So what they have to do when they have priority is they have to play an attack card from their hand. If they cannot, they take 1 damage. If they do, the priority passes to you. So now you have to play an attack card. And you do this back and forth until someone chooses not to play an attack card, or they just can't, and then they take 1 damage. And then lastly, we got a Peach Garden. Yeah, I think it's a Peach Garden. It's called a Peach Garden, right? Yeah, so this is a Peach Garden. So unlike your basic normal Peach, This will just heal everyone in the game who's still alive by 1 point of health. You cannot use this to save people on the brink of death. You just play it proactively and then heal everyone.
Now onto the weapons, which all have unique abilities and end up extending your attacking range. Let's talk about the attacking range real quick and bring horses into this equation. These guys. Now, horses and weapons are ways to increase your attacking range while equipped, which works like this. Everyone has a base attacking range of 1, which means that they can attack the people sitting right next to them. To increase your attacking range to attack people on the other side of the table, you must use these weapons or horses, which either change your attacking range, which is the case of the weapons right here, or increase it, which is the case of these 3 horses right here. We'll talk about these ones later, but these 3 horses right here will increase your attacking range by you get to see everyone from 1 closer, hence the -1. Now for these, let's say I had a 5 weapon equipped, which is a bow, which gives me a range of 5 distance. So this distance, just to reiterate, is based off the people sitting around you. So each seat at the table is 1 more distance. So let's say Daniel was sitting in between my friend and I, then he'd be 2 spaces away. Cool. Now on to these horses right here, which are the +1 horses. Now these ones are kind of like a defensive horse. So it's defensive in the sense where it doesn't change your attacking range, but it causes other people to see you from further away. So if I had this +1 horse equipped to me, people sitting right next to me would have to use 2 distance instead of the normal 1 to attack me. Now to finish all these cards up is the armor cards, which are these 3. Now these are cards that you put in front of your player board, and it's a protection thing which can prevent you from getting damaged as easily as before. This card right here is called 8 trigrams. Once you have it equipped in your player area, every time someone attacks you, you flip over the top card of the deck. Let's say this was the deck. And bam, it is a red suited card, which means this card essentially gives me a free block to negate the attack that was just targeted towards me. This card right here is called, I don't know, it's called like black shield, black armor. It looks more like a shield than armor, so let's just call it shield. The black shield prevents any black suited attack card from affecting you. Very strong. Now on to how the turn will work for a typical person. Let's say I am the king, Cao Cao, or Cao Cao, and now we will go through a sample turn. So the first thing before you take your real turn is something called the judgment phase. Now remember those cards earlier we called lightning and jail? So those will be triggered during this phase. Flip over the top card of the deck if we have a card here that pertains to it. If not, then we're going to draw the top 2 cards of the deck. So there's nothing here. We're going to draw 2 cards from the deck. 1, 2. So I had 6 cards at the beginning of the game. Now I draw 2 cards. Now I have 8. Now, next, after the drawing phase, is the main phase. This is where the meat of the game occurs. You can play as many cards as you want, except you can only play an attack once. So let's say I have right here, blah, blah, I have this weapon I want to equip. Let's say I want to play this lightning for whatever reason, freaking crazy, but I could do it. This one right here, I could play too. It's called Harvest. So let's say there's 6 players in a game. We flip over 6 cards, blah, blah, blah. Everyone picks 1. And then I can attack someone. So let's say like I attack Daniel just because I don't trust him. So I attack him. That may or may not go through. That's my attack for the turn. Now I look at my hand and I have 4 cards and I have 4 health. So during the next phase, which is called the discard phase, I have to discard to my current health. So I currently have 4 health, 4 cards in my hand. I am good to go. If I did not play this attack, or I had another card in my hand, which means I had like 5 cards, then I have to discard down to 4. Yeah, and that is how a typical turn works. As the king, remember, I want to destroy all the infidels and be the last one standing. Even if my loyalist dies, I still win. Let's go back to these roll cards again, actually, to give a better picture of how the dynamic works, because I want to give you guys all the nitty-gritty strategy, how to win, how to get the most out of your SanGuoSha experience. So let's go back to this. We have a typical 6-player experience. So king, loyalist, rebels, spy. Naturally, we're going to start with the king card. He is the head honcho who has an advantage due to going first. Typically, he has 1 more starting health to keep the game a little balanced. Now, the goal for him is for him to kill all of these infidels, so the rebel plus the spy, while working with his loyalist who is hidden among all these face down cards right here. it is kind of rough for him because if he accidentally kills a loyalist, he will lose everything in his hand and his player board. So that's very important not for him to do, which leads to a lot of kings usually tend to play a little safe. So the loyalist right here, again, he wants to keep the king alive. Even if he dies himself, but all the infidels die, he will still win the game. Onto these dirty rebels right here. So the rebels, their goal is to kill the king. Now, even if the other rebels die and one rebel ends up killing the king, all the rebels are treated as winning. The balance in SanGuoSha comes from when you kill a rebel, they essentially have like a bounty on them. So when you kill them, you're going to draw 3 cards from the deck, meaning that you get that, influx of cards from killing a rebel, which means you get to do more bigger plays. Just remember, there are 3 rebels, which means they have power in numbers. Typically, they can rush the king and do a good job of winning there. The last one is a spy. So this one's really, really shifty, and this guy wants to be the last person standing and to slice off the king's head just by himself. So he wants to accomplish this by doing a position of a 1v1 at the end of the game, usually pretending to be the loyalist during most of the game. But at the end of the game, eventually he'll have to reveal himself, kill off the loyalist, and 1v1 the king. So this position is naturally really, really hard in the game, but it is the most rewarding. They must do a mixture of passivity and spurs of aggression to steal a spot with fighting only the king at the end of the game. Now, it is very important for the renegades to not have these bandits die too early, because if they do, then the king is really, really strong because he starts the game pretty strong, and the king can naturally just run him over for an easy win for the Han Dynasty. So that was it, SanGuoSha. Generally just keep drawing 2 cards every turn, kill all the infidels who are not on your team. And yeah, that is our Shelfside explanation of how to play SanGuoSha. If you are here from the review video, there should be a link somewhere here. I don't know what direction to point, but somewhere there. And if not, just have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this, the American board Chinese explanation of a Chinese game to help other people interested in such an amazing game. See you guys later. Bye-bye.